Welcome to the Life of Joey Calvo podcast. I am Joey Calvo. We are on YouTube as well as PhillyCAM TV. And we also now have a new website. It's lifewithjoeycalvo.website. You can find out upcoming guests as well as you can get merchandise, etc. Everything you'll need to know will be eventually on the website as time goes on. So our guest today is Eric G. Reid, and he spent years climbing ladders, thinking God wanted him on them, and it nearly cost him everything that mattered. So, Eric, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thank you, and hey, good to be in Philly in a backwards, upside down camera way, huh?
Yeah. So, explain to our audience who you are. and how we got to where we're at now.
Much like I have to explain to my therapist, I guess. It's interesting because I am the kid who flunked kindergarten. It can be done, my friends.
Wow.
Apparently, there's a particular order those letters are supposed to go in. I'm not really sure.
Okay.
So all my life growing up, I was kind of the kid that was like, my older sister, brilliant. She studied 5 times over simple things. My younger sister, true athlete. So I was left with this spot in the middle, which turned out to be the trouble kid.
Mm-hmm.
And growing up, I lived up to the reputation. And I was always trying to, be the kid, like get that man seal from my dad. Like, that's my boy.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't happen on the sports field, and it didn't happen in the classroom, and it didn't happen in the wood shop. And I was always like, come on, I just need that, that we all need that boy from our dad.
Mm-hmm.
That we can launch and say, I'm a man now.
Yeah.
And so what I did find is I had a real talent for organizing and working. I could outwork anybody. I always said I'm the mule in the field, not the pretty pony at the show. And over time, I started saying, wow, this leadership thing, like he's the leader of the group. He's the leader of the office. And I would lean into that leader thing. And I thought eventually I'll get that. That's my son. He's a leader. Yeah. Still kind of waiting for that seal. But in the pursuit of all of that seeking of somebody else's idea of perfect, idea of enough, an idea of big, tall, smart, whatever, I forgot a whole bunch of who I was. And I think a part of it was also trying to cover up that kid that flunked kindergarten. Like, I didn't want to be seen as a failure over and over, so I painted a really good picture.
Yeah. Okay. Well, in reference to me, we're kind of in the same boat of the wanted to be, I was the youngest of 7.
Oh my goodness.
And so it kind of was harder on me because my parents were always working or always doing something. They were always busy. And, the time I got to spend with them was like not a lot. Or, if I was lucky, it was a weekend, because, but when it came to having friends over, it was like I couldn't have friends over. It's like I came home and it was like, if I wanted to go out and play, I went out and played. But I mean, it wasn't, I didn't. It wound up. It was hard. It was hard. And then of course, being picked on in school, and but being picked on in school wasn't all because of looks. Well, it was kind of, back then in the 70s and 80s, it was, if you had Macy's and JCPenney clothes, you were good. But if you had Kmart clothes, you were like the poor.
I remember well.
Yes. So, but it took right into high school when that changed a little bit. I mean, I was still being picked on, but it wasn't because of, clothes and stuff. But the damage was done, quote unquote, to the point where, and I've gone to therapists, and most of the therapists, all they turn around and they say to you is, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to handle it? Excuse me. How are you going to handle it? Well, now I finally got to my head and said, well, if you're asking me, what am I going to do to it, about it? Why am I coming to you? Why? Why
I wrote you the check.
Yeah. It's like, I'm coming to you trying to get help, and you're like, how are you going to handle this? But I actually had gone to a psychiatrist, and because I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression in 2009. And so I had gone to the psychiatrist, and he turned around and literally said to me, and this is when I explained to him that I, do this podcast. He literally said to me, your podcast is your therapy.
Oh, so I'm going to get a check for being your therapist today?
Wait a minute. But I turned around to him, first words out of my mouth, what planet are you from? I'm like, you think my podcast is my therapy? And I'm like, how? But it took a little bit, but he was actually right. I turned around as I've been doing these podcasts, I started picking brains, and what wind up happening though is I'll pick the brain, quote unquote. I'll learn a little bit from it, and then something will happen within me, and I'll be right back to being considered. And there will be someone that will be cursing me out for repeating this many, many times. A ugly and creepy looking loser, who's only who's controlling, pushing, and rushing. Who has no respect and doesn't listen, as a stubborn son of a bitch. Excuse the language. That's how I place myself as.
Well, and I have to say, I think we all carry either part, full, or some of that same label. I mean, I'm old. Gray hair is earned. I have yet, and as a publisher and as somebody who works with writers and listening to their stories and reading their stories, I think everybody has that same belief on some level. It's everywhere for everybody. Now, how close to the surface it is, that changes.
Yeah.
But it always amazes me when I'm working with a writer and the fear and the self-doubt and the insecurities that they still carry. And I'm like, I'm looking at you and yours, CFO, CEO, like from all outside forces, you nailed it. But internally, they're still battling it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I had a guest that got me to bring that more out, that, I'm actually at war with myself, which I know I've been for many, many years. It's just come out more now because of how I treated someone and how I made them feel. And especially when the these people in question were my biggest supporters. And I'm now literally pushing them away to the point where, like, you know what? There's no, and I have stated, and I will state this again. I have literally, I don't believe in the word friendship. I literally dissolved that. I had just thought about acquaintance, and I now have dissolved that idea because, and I've given I can't say I've given a lecture. I've given a podcast about it where I actually had described what a friend was. And I do have some people that have been supporting me. So I kind of like loosened it up a little bit on them in reference to it. But in reference to what a real quote unquote friend should be, I might get one piece of it, of what I've stated, what a friend should be. And that's it. So my physical definition of a friend is someone who supports you, physically hangs out with you once in a while. It doesn't have to be every day, but at least physically spends time with you. And that's the major part, is the physical. Because I go to Atlantic City and I'm like, listen, hey, come hang out with me in Atlantic City, so that way I don't have to do what I normally would do, which is go to the slot machines and gamble. If a friend came down to Atlantic City and hung out with me, then hey, I don't have to think about the money part, playing the slots. I may use it having a glass of wine, but, and I'm going to come to that but in a minute in reference to that, because there was an incident. I'll call it an incident in reference to that. But in reference to what a friend is, this podcast. Share this podcast with people. Okay? If you're my friend and you're there for me, okay? Share the podcast with people. Okay. Then like once in a while, come hang out with me. Now, I gave exception to one person because he actually did come to me and said, listen, I'm going to be in Atlantic City during this time. Come hang out. And I was amazed at first. And then I turned around and I questioned. I says, am I going to be like the only one there? And he says, no, there's a couple other people I asked. And I kind of like stepped back and I said, I appreciate the offer, but no, thank you. And it was a shock to my own system that I did that. But I think it was because I don't know who the other people were that were going to be there. And I have this fear now because I made a mistake in 2008 that I will never forgive myself for. And because of that mistake, it comes back to me. And I actually went to a reunion, quote unquote. it wound up being an all-year reunion. So it was, my graduation year of '89, which, believe it or not, next week will be 37 years that I actually graduated high school. And I actually still, and what's crazy is I still remember the date and time that it happened in reference to it, and some of the little things to it. But what happened was there were some people who saw me and they were like, we want nothing to do with you. And I kind of understood why in reference to it. But the people that did hang around with me, Eric, I wanted a glass of wine. I drink white Zinfandel because of my health. Do you think I got white Zinfandel that night?
I'm guessing no.
Yep, you're absolutely correct. Because they turned around, they're like, oh, no, you can't have that. You have to have this. You have to have that. I'm like, no, I want wine because I know what I want. And that whole night, it was like I couldn't have it. I could not have it because they felt that if I had wine, I was like, something different. And I attempted to explain that I wanted it because of my health, because I know I can handle myself with it as compared to the other stuff that they gave me. And I mean, that gave me hard alcohol. Thank God I was taking a taxi to the train station and stuff, but it was that night I thought it was going to be a good night to actually have a good time. And I shot myself down a little bit because it wind up not being the fun I really wanted. Do I want to go to another one of them? I had thought about it, but the only downfall to it is this. And those that do wind up watching that know what I'm talking about is when they schedule these events, I have no problem coming down for them. The only thing is they started at a later time. So
yeah. Well, I'm getting old too. Anything after 9 o'clock is considered midnight.
Yeah. Well, they started around 7 o'clock. So I can get there, not a problem. But the thing is, the last train that leaves the station to go home isn't 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. It's 11 o'clock at night. So I get there and I only get 2 hours to enjoy, and then I have to make sure I have a cab to get me back to the station to get me on that last train. And I don't get home until midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. Because, from New Brunswick, I have to switch trains in Trenton to go to Philadelphia, to 30th Street. So it's by the time it all happened, and then the buses on top of that stopped running around that time. So I have to walk from 30th Street home, and that's a good mile.
You should just stay over the night.
We thought about it. We think about that. But you got to remember, it's a weekend when they plan these things. So the hotel rate is not, $29 a night like it would be like if I went to the Hard Rock Monday through Thursday. it's more like $100 and some. Plus, you have to have the incidental, and then you have to have the cab rides there and back.
Hey,
So it builds up in reference to it. So but the thought is there about it. It's not like I don't want to do it. It's not like I don't want to do it. But
I feel you. I just came back. My son is 17. He plays lacrosse. He's on a travel team. So it's go out on Friday, come back on Sunday, overnight in some strange city, play lacrosse all weekend. Yep. And if you've ever had to feed a 17-year-old, it's pretty much an hourly event. So yeah, I'm like, okay, honey, you just like lost your college money by that third meal. And we got one more travel weekend and we're done. I'm like, oh, good. Yeah. I might get our bank account back in line.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I told him earlier, I said, look, you're on the field all day. I am not booking the 5-star Sheraton for us to be sitting in the sun on a field. You know, I'll get you someplace safe. We'll get some beds and we'll get some sleep. And that's how I roll on those. Now, when I get to travel by myself or for vacation, I got to go top.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Here's the thing about with me in reference to it. Like I said, I go to Atlantic City and I play the slot machines. So when I play the slot machines, what not many people know is the more you're playing and the points that you're earning earns you the points that could get you complimentary rooms. And so, with that being said, I usually wind up getting comp rooms at Caesars, Harrah's, Tropicana. Now, when I do that, though, I always do my best to book Tropicana. And the reason why I book Tropicana is this. Yes, I love the boardwalk. Yes, I wish I could be taking someone on the beach and holding their hand. But it's like I have to have an oceanfront room. Just to have that thought of wishing someone was with me that I could, say all this stuff to.
I said this week we had tournament in Myrtle Beach, and I said, I'm getting my beach time.
Yeah.
Now, I don't care what time, but I'm getting my beach time.
Oh, yeah.
And I got – and I thought as I was going through the city, I'm like, how can you live in a beach town and not be on the – like, I would hate to live in a place like Myrtle Beach but be like even a mile away from the beach. I know it seems impractical, but it's like you're so close. Just that, like, get on the edge of the beach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's me.
Yeah. So it's like for me, when I go to Atlantic City, I have everything strategically planned, literally. And I'm now about to give away a secret that I practically had given it away before, actually. So when I turn around and say, I'm going to Atlantic City for the night, I am going for the night, literally. Because what I do is I will catch a train in Philadelphia at 5 minutes to 11 at night. Okay. I'll get to Atlantic City 12:30 in the morning. Yeah.
Hey, everybody's still up.
Depends on where you go.
Oh.
Now, the little secret, well, actually not much of a secret to this, but usually when when people say, when you go to Atlantic City, how do you go and all that? And I'm like, well, I take the train. I get to Atlantic City 12:30 in the morning. And there are 3 jitneys. And each jitney goes to certain casinos. So, like the first one will go to Tropicana, Bally, Caesars, Claridge. The second one will go to Hard Rock Resorts, Ocean, Showboat, etc. The third one goes to the Marina, which is Golden Nugget, Borgata, and Harrah's. So, now, if you think they charge you for those, they do not. Okay? Those
I'm
are
sure
free
they
shows.
want you in their casino. They'll be happy to drive you there.
Well, it's that. Well, it's the casinos that are paying for these drivers and stuff. So yes. So I will take the third one, which is the Marina, which is Golden Nugget, Borgata, and Harrah's. I will turn around and I'll tell the driver, I'll tell the driver I'm going to go to Borgata. Eric, I'll walk into Borgata, and it's quiet as hell. Especially on a Friday night.
Interesting.
Yes. Well, actually, no. Correction. Not on a Friday night. During the week, early in the week. Now, and I normally go sometimes I go on a Monday or a Tuesday night in reference to it. Last time I went on a Friday. No, I went on a Wednesday night. So but I didn't go to the Marina. I went to the boardwalk because I had one of the casinos on the boardwalk, Ocean, gives me slot play. $5. Yes, they're cheap.
Hey, play the penny machine.
But you know what? It's still appreciative. I still look at it that way, though. So I'll take that, and when I went that Wednesday night, it was a little bit. Well, the only reason why I had to go before midnight though is because you had to get the slot play before 11:59. So I had to take an earlier train in reference to that. And it was a little bit busy at that time. But normally I'll go on the Marina at 12:30. Well, by the time I get there, it's like 10 of 1. And it's almost empty. Almost empty. Like, I mean, there are people playing, but it's not like a Friday or Saturday night, like in the nightclubs and stuff. It's totally quiet. You can actually breathe. Now, once in a while, in reference to it, when I go, there are certain machines I play, and I'm very particular in reference to it. And it's like, if there's only like a couple machines in this casino and they're all taken, I get pissed off so damn quick. I'm like, son of I'm up a storm, and I'll walk out. I'll literally walk out because I'm like, you know what? This place should have more. Borgata and Harrah's are the two I don't worry about because I know they have a certain amount in reference to it. And it gets to a point, Eric, and this is the craziest thing I'll ever say. I can walk in there with $20, okay? And I'll probably wind up playing almost every machine that I normally would play there. Almost every machine within that $20.
You're like me. I can make it a penny stretch when I'm gambling.
Yeah. And it winds up happening. So when I went to when I was on the boardwalk this last time, I was like, I started off at Ocean, and it was nice and cool, So, and so I get in there, and I had allocated $40.
Ooh, big spending night.
Yeah. Well, I mean, only because I was playing on 4 casinos that night.
Oh, okay. Everybody gets a dime.
Yeah, so I budgeted that for every casino. So I get in there, and I turn around, and I wind up gaining it back. So I was up a little bit. I go into the Hard Rock next, and all of a sudden, that money that I was up went back. So then I turn around, I go to resorts. And I get into resorts, I didn't think this was going to happen. Well, you never expect it to happen. I'm playing the machine. My card's not working, so I couldn't even earn points. But I could scan the kiosk, it'll work. And it was a 10 times tier point. And my card would not work in the machine. And then I turned around, I went to somebody. They said, you tried it so many times to try to get it reprinted that they couldn't overwrite it. I would have had to go to the rewards desk. I was like, son of a bitch. And it was a 10-time tier point night. So if I would have earned 1 point, I would have had 10. Well, so I played the whole time there without my card. Would you believe I hit for $260 some?
See, isn't that the luck? Just when you can really strike it big, you only strike in middle.
Yeah, and and the thing is, what people don't know is when you actually play your card in the machine, when your loyalty card is in the machine. Yes, they're gathering information on you of what machines you play. So they know, like, hey, you're starting out. Let's make you start hitting big. Because they know the longer you're playing these machines, they know we can grab it back. But if you turn around and start playing without your card, of course, they don't know, what machines you're playing and stuff. But, just by stroke of luck, I hit for $200 some on a machine I rarely play. And I was just like, okay. But then I turned around and I started putting it back a little bit in the same casino, but in another machine that I rarely play. But it got me through. And then I turn around, Eric. Normally, like I said, I'll catch the 10:55. I get down there at 12:32. And the first train that leaves Atlantic City to go back to Philadelphia is at 4:11 in the morning. So I plan, I set an alarm.
Fly in, fly out, get your money, and go home.
Yep. So I normally wind up being at, one of the stops that the jitney makes to pick up to go back. Excuse me. Sorry. That goes back to the train station like 20 minutes before. Well, I turned around and I said, you know what? I'm having a good time. I'm going to stretch myself out a little bit. It was a Wednesday. I didn't have much to do. I didn't have a podcast that day. I actually wanted to do a sunrise in Atlantic City. And I did. I wound up leaving I think it was 6:00. I wound up leaving that morning. So the sun had just gotten up and everything. It was just about 6 because I got home about 8 that morning.
Kicking the curb when the sun's coming. Yeah. Not a good sign.
Yeah, but I wound up losing a little bit. But it got me out of the house. That's the main part. It got me out of the house. And that's always my main goal when it comes to this stuff. So that's my life in general in reference to it. So
I've never been to Atlantic City.
Yeah,
I might have been near it, but I don't remember being at a casino. Now Vegas, yes.
Oh yeah. I went back to Vegas. Matter of fact, in 2021 for the first time in 20 years. I went back to Vegas. Never got to the Venetian because that was where I stayed the first time. But I also learned that when you book a hotel in Vegas, you don't get a refrigerator. They actually charge you for a refrigerator in Vegas.
Huh.
As compared to Atlantic City, you do get a refrigerator in your room. So,
maybe,
yeah,
reason to stay in Atlantic City, I guess.
Yes, and especially, the buffets are kind of going on their way. But in Atlantic City, there are two places, to go for a buffet that are still around. One's at the Hard Rock. It's called the Fresh Harvest. The other one's at the Borgata. Both good. I will say that. They're both good in reference to that. So if you're on the boardwalk, go to Hard Rock. If you're on the marina, go to Borgata.
And tell them Joey sent you. Can't forget the.
No. They don't care. They still charge. They charge you like $40 after 5 o'clock for an adult meal, as compared to like if you really and folks, if you do go to Borgata, go for the breakfast brunch because it's much cheaper, and especially if you have the loyalty card, MGM rewards card, and you have like enough on there. Yeah, go during breakfast brunch because it's like $25. For the
I can see you pulling up, Joey. You open your wallet and you sling it, and there's all your loyalty cards alphabetized and ready to go.
Actually, I have them on a keychain.
Okay.
Mine. Now I don't do the wallet thing in reference to that. But let's get back to you, and I apologize for going off a bit. So let's talk about your upcoming book, Leadership Was Never the Calling.
Well, it kind of came from that belief that the more lanyards, the more titles, the more stages I stood on, the more I accomplished, the happier I'd be, the prouder my father would be. As you had talked about, I'd finally get that seat at the table with the popular kids, or, somebody would finally sign my yearbook and not make it a joke.
Yeah.
And sometimes it worked out, but it never felt right. It was like, okay, I'm here, but I don't feel like I'm really being seen. Like I was just here because I'm here. And meanwhile, we had just adopted 2 children, something we had been in pursuit of for over 13 years. And I was on the road and going and gone and trying to build this whole thing. And just one night it hit me. It was like, wait a minute, you worked 13 years to stand outside, your kid's bedroom, so to speak, and listen to him sleep. And you're willing to cut this moment short so you can fill out another proposal, submit another bid, do the thing to get you back on another stage. And I thought, I'm doing this all wrong.
Yeah.
I was not, as a person of faith, I was not called to lead. I was called to serve. And here I've got this young kid that's in our home as a foster and soon to be adopted.
Yeah.
I've been given this role as a father, and I'm not even stepping into it because I think this other thing will get me what I need in life. Yeah. And it was in that I kind of realized that my dad's gonna have to work out his issues with, like, I can't keep chasing that dog because it's not, by the time you're 50, if that dog hasn't done what it's supposed to do, it's gonna be over. And I just said,
Yeah.
I need to figure out what success really is. And it's not being on another stage. It's not being another presenter. It's not being perfect. It's being present.
Right.
And being present with my son is where I need to be.
Right.
And my daughter.
Yeah. Well, I could say I was lucky that I never had kids. But there is a part of me that does tug at me, like, you wish you had one at least, watch grow up and, carry on something that, I may never have done, in reference to it. But
because now my son is 17. So we're in this, my daughter is 16. I don't talk about her the same because she has disabilities.
Okay.
So it's a different kind of story when I talk about her. But with him, I'm sitting on the sideline this weekend, 93 degrees heat, baking like a lobster.
Yeah.
And watching him do it and think, like, this may be one of the last games before he goes off to college, before he goes off to life.
Yeah.
And time moves quickly when you're clocking it against a kid.
Yeah. All right. So let me introduce you to our number one fan, number one supporter, and she's a real life superheroine. Her name is American Fox, and she sent you questions in advance. And so, all right. So we'll get to that. Here we go. So the first question an American Fox sent you is, how is Skinny Brown Dog Media founded?
Whew. There's the name comes from the dog that we adopted one day because my son kept saying, we need to get the skinny brown dog. We need to get the skinny brown dog. And I kept thinking, I don't want the skinny brown dog. I want another. But we ended up getting the skinny brown dog. And when it came time to create the publishing company, which grew out of hearing so many companies and so many entrepreneurs that I know want to write a book, and they meet with an editor and a publisher and they think they're getting it done right. And there's just a lot of shady people out there taking advantage of people's dreams. That's when we picked the name, but it also was like, you'll always have a home with us. We're here to build a place for you to land as an author and to always feel connected to us. So it was founded really out of a need of several authors that I had seen wanting to publish books and get their books out there and not know how to do it. And I said, well, I can do anything. I'll just figure it out. And now 200 plus books later, Skinny Brown Dog still sticks. And we are still helping authors that want to make an impact in the world get it done right.
Okay. All right. So question number 2 from American Fox is this. How do you help others with parenting?
Wow. Great question. I am not an expert. Though I joke I've raised over 400 kids because I've worked in foster care services and support services. What I've learned from that experience and being a dad and being a foster parent is, first rule, your kid is your kid. So anything I tell you, you're going to have to filter through your lens and through your values. But many of the authors we work with actually talk about being raised like you and like I, and how they've overcome it. Or they work in faith-based and leadership, and so they're guiding families that way. I am always the advocate for the kid whenever I'm fighting for any cause in foster care, and being able to sit with parents and say, look, I'm an old guy. I'm going to teach you old guy school things. You can take it or leave it. It's pretty wonderful. We have what I call the crew, which is about 6 guys that hang with my son, and I'm included, partly because I have the driver's license and the money.
Right.
But listening to them and giving them wisdom that most of us wish our dads had. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. So in reference to the 6 guys working with your, how and you mentioned, you said you have a daughter who has disabilities.
Yeah.
So it's another, it's a
lot of people.
How does that make it a challenge though on you now, in reference to, or do you feel like it's a challenge?
Huge challenge. And because they're so different, they're only 15 months apart in age, but in abilities, she is kind of close to a 6 or a 7-year-old, even though she's 16. So the things that she can do and participate and want to enjoy versus him over time have really expanded. But the graded, I mean, there are moments if you're a parent, an aunt, a grandparent, uncle, you sit back and you're like, we did it. We did it right.
Yeah.
He is participating in swim team this year. Same swim team he's on. We have this lane that we've kind of created, make it to the end of the pool any way you can.
Yeah.
For kids like her. And the other night I looked up in the entire crew, which is what I call the 6 guys.
Yeah.
Standing at the end of her lane, cheering her on and, pulling her forward. And I was like, wow, they did all of that without being prompted, without being encouraged. And I thought that's what I want for both of them, is to have a community that cheers them on.
Yeah.
And it worked out. So though I see the difference, apparently nobody else does.
Well, yeah, definitely. It's a hard, that's what I said. It's a hard thing that you have 2 different levels to work with. You have someone who has the mentality of their age, and then you have someone who has a mentality of possibly a child at an older age.
Right. So, and it's funny because not only that, they're boys, girls, their personalities that underlie are so different. They've been, this summer, there's been a lot of fights, and somebody was like, that's what siblings do. And I'm like, really? It's not because of her disability? They're like, no. You're so off. That's what siblings do. They fight when they're bored.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, I can't take anymore.
Yeah.
I'm lucky that I've been around enough. I guess I can swap back and forth, and that they're so different that I don't have to worry about them the same way.
Yeah.
He'll leave, he'll go off to college or whatever, happens after you turn 18. He'll continue to move further away.
Yeah.
And she'll always be under my roof or under our care, so to speak.
Yeah.
So the clock moves at a different pace for her.
Yeah. Okay. And so the final question from American Fox.
She's scaring me.
Is, what defines success in your work with others?
Wow. Easy answer. Because
easy answer and elaborate.
Yeah, no worries. I was sitting at dinner the other night with a group of parents, and one of the persons was talking about their book and their business and all that. And I immediately went into work thinking. And as we were talking, I'm asking questions and I'm probing and I'm explaining and I'm like, I'm doing my job kind of thing. And all of a sudden I could see him like, now I see it. Like, now I see my book. Now I see how it lines. Like, it all came together. And that excitement, that energy, that passion to suddenly create, as opposed to the work it would take, was full on. And I get to see that happen over and over and over and over in my job. That's success. When somebody sees the value of their story, when somebody gets that their message, that thing, has value in the world and that they get to be the driver of the boat, that to me is like, I'm done. I can go Like, I don't need stage. I don't need fame. I don't need my name on the ticket. I'm done. I know they're going to go forth in the world and make an impact that I can't even do.
Okay. All right. Give me one moment.
She's got another question. I can see it brewing in her.
No. American Fox ran out of questions. But in reference to this, in reference to, the success you're building, through the parenting of not just a normal, but also a child with disability. So I mean, we can say you have the best of both worlds in reference to it. You're on both sides of the spectrum in reference to building skill.
They both teach me something differently, but they both teach me simultaneously that I am not a patient person.
And you know what? Someone taught me that I wasn't either. So
parenting is all about
it was not a child either. Okay, there were adults that showed me who I actually am, and because of finding out who I am, I had mentioned earlier about what I was like growing up and stuff. And I said about, I mentioned all the damage that was done. This was the damage coming out. And because of that, I now put myself in a position where I'm like, okay, you're telling me I'm this. Actually, when I said that I was the ugly and creepy looking loser who's controlling, rushing, and pushing, that is the point where I now have put myself and raised myself to be wanting to be in self-isolation because of I don't want to hurt anybody anymore in reference to those traits. But at the same time, I don't want to be hurt again because I started to realize now why every relationship I had cheated, including my own ex-wife.
See, and I would tell you, as the therapist on call, so to speak, opposite. And maybe it's because I'm old, maybe because I've
55,
but I'm like, screw it. If you don't like me because of your baggage, your issues, your problem, that's fine. That's not on me.
Right.
I was given breath this morning and it wasn't by you. And so I'm going to just keep on going because no matter what your faith is, no matter where you sit on the scale, if you were given breath, it was a gift. And it was a gift without condition because it wasn't sitting next to you, by the way, your next breath requires you to do this, to be this, to act like this. It was just gifted. And so I'm like, my life, man, maybe it's the kids, maybe it's experience, but the clock is moving fast every single day. And I am not going to drag around somebody else's BS and somebody else's belief system when I have the chance to do other things. And I tell my team, I tell people, if I offended you, check with me because I'll let you know if it was intentional. But if it wasn't intentional, let's work it out.
Yeah.
People carry so much of their own crap into our lives, and we think it's our responsibility to live in that mud that like ugly. Like if I buy a house And I move in and the walls are purple. There is no rule that says I have to keep the purple walls because that's what the other person liked,
Right.
or wanted, or needed. It's mine. This is
Right.
my life. I don't have to live with your purple walls and your belief system. And I would say, Joey, just go through like there are some characters in life that we look at and we laugh, but they're out there doing it. I would just say, you know what? Become that character. Like, look, I am what I am, what I am.
Yeah. Well, I will say that in reference to, I actually thanked that person that that showed me who I was, because I never knew I was that. I did not think I was ever that person. I did not think that I could ever treat anybody that way. So we have a couple minutes left. How can people reach out to you, Eric, in reference to
social media? It's always Eric G. Reid. Apparently, there's a famous football player in North Carolina named Eric Reid. So I drop in the G just to distinguish us.
Okay.
And it's that way across Facebook, LinkedIn, everywhere.
Okay.
But I would like to say, Joy, I mean, the gift that publishing and working with authors and working with people the way I have, and like I said, 400 plus kids and foster parents, in the isolation, the only thing that can exist is that story that you keep telling yourself. And only through getting out in the world and realizing that your story is what you're meant to carry forward, and you can't carry that forward in isolation. There are some amazing human beings on this planet that I've had the opportunity to get to know, and I would not have sat down for an espresso with them, let alone a cup of coffee, had that first impression been the decision maker. I am always fascinated by the other story people aren't yet telling, or that takes me a little time to get to know, that requires that I be present and listen in and really hold the space for them to let go of the easy story and get to the real story. And you can't do that, Joey, unless you're out there being involved in other people's stories and in letting other people be involved in your story. So next time you go to Atlantic City, stay over and get to meet somebody.
Actually, what I normally do, and I got a minute to say this, I usually do a year-end podcast from Atlantic City.
There you go. Have a co-host plan.
I do that mostly every year, because usually I have free rooms during that time. This time we planned not one night, not 2 nights, not 3, 4 nights in Atlantic City, Christmas week.
There you go. And have live co-hosts.
That doesn't happen.
Come on, break the mold. Tell a different story.
No, what normally happens is with the year-end podcast, I turn around and I thank people like you for coming on. And I also thank that #1 podcast supporter and fan. And you know, to be quick, you want to talk about stories? That's the story that I've been following, was American Fox. She has a story that she could tell. And I wish one day she could really share it with people. So,
there is no reason why she can't.
Well, but
I mean, those that will do harm without reason. Those that will celebrate are already lined up waiting to.
Yeah. And we shared our stories together. And that's the hardest thing, is I pushed her away because of everything else. That was the best.
The thing that I've learned too is,
we got 20 seconds.
Too late. 1 second. Yeah, I'll do 30 seconds less. It's never too late to invite somebody back into your story.
Well, she's there. It's just I'm not. So, but you're welcome to come back on anytime. And everybody, thank you for watching the Life with Joey Calvo podcast. God bless you all.
See you later, Philly.